breakout candidates for the 2025 NBA season. In this one, I'm going to cover like 10 players that I think could break out next season. I think it's going to be an insane most improved player award race. Commonly an award people don't really care about and don't talk about the race, and probably next year they still won't, even though I think there's going to be tons of candidates. So let's get into all of them here. And if you guys like NBA content, subscribe to my free NBA newsletter. It'll be the pinned comment where I give somewhat unhinged NBA opinions. So definitely check it out. But let's get into these most improved players on the list. Okay, the first guy that I have on the list is going to be Cam Thomas from the Brooklyn Nets. Last year had a breakout season when he finally played like 30 minutes a game. Put up crazy stats, 22.5 points and 3 assists. I think both those numbers are going to go up, mostly because Brooklyn just doesn't have anyone to compete for shots. I mean, it will be interesting to see who gets the second most shots on this team after Cam Thomas. But let's get into some stats for Cam Thomas here. So on ESPN, I like to look at them because the game log, they show how much they average per month, which is really nice to see. And then we can also pull up depth charts really easily on ESPN. But I'm also going to use Basketball Reference. For Cam Thomas, last 2 months of the season, 35 minutes in April, averaged over 26 points per game. In March, averaged 36 minutes and almost 27. I think he could easily average 26 on the season here and be like top 10, top 15 in scoring in the entire NBA. I mean, his averages probably would have been that if we come down to earlier in the season. It hurt him that for whatever reason, they just weren't really playing him in some months. Like we saw in January here, he only averaged 27 minutes and 19 points. Like there was a 4-game stretch here where he played 24 minutes or under. And then also in December, he only averaged 28 minutes. With a full season averaging 35, 36 minutes, I think he's going to go absolutely crazy. On Basketball Reference, we can see his per 36 minutes. He averaged 25.7 per 36 minutes last year. And like I said, there were some dud games. Like he played 12 minutes in this game for some reason. Just look at their depth chart here. Their starting lineup: Schroeder, Thomas, Johnson, Finney-Smith, Claxton. None of those guys are big shot takers. I also expect Schroeder to be traded and Bogdanovich. Ben Simmons is the only other guy that could compete for minutes with Cam Thomas, but he doesn't shoot. He actually probably would help Cam Thomas get even more shots up. Second on the team in shots, I'm going to go with Cam Johnson, I guess, unless they trade him as well. All right, the next guy I have for you is Keontae George. He averaged 13 points as a rookie and 4.5 assists. I think he's going to average close to 20 points and over 5 assists. Again, like Cam Thomas saw, inconsistent minutes. You can see the last month of the season with Utah playing for absolutely nothing, he still couldn't crack over 30 minutes for whatever reason. He averaged 15 points per game in that final month of the season. The month before that, played 32 minutes, averaged over 16 points per game. Even with some dud games, like when he played 6 minutes in this game out of nowhere, don't know what happened there. Has potential to be a big-time scorer. Had a 33-point game here, another 30-point game. Can be a big-time scorer. Also, I do expect Utah to trade at least 2 of their top 3 leading scorers from last year: Markkanen, Sexton, or Clarkson. I do expect at least 2 of those guys to be gone. StatMuse, I do hate StatMuse because I feel like it just doesn't work for me a lot of times. But Keontae George last year, without Lauri Markkanen, averaged 15.8 points. So a big bump in points per game without Markkanen. All right, the next guy I'm going to go to here is going to be Cade Cunningham. Last year, averaged almost 23 points a game, 7.5 assists. I think the points per game are going to go way up. Is now surrounded by some better shooters to actually space the floor out, give him more room to drive, and he kind of plays similarly to Luka Doncic, honestly. Shot really well from 3 last year, almost 36%, which you love to see, but I think he's going to get even more buckets down low and shoot more than 18.8 times per game. I think he's going to shoot over 20, up this average to over 25 points per game. They got Tobias Harris now and Malik Beasley, 2 guys that you can't leave open on the perimeter to help space the floor. So I'm liking Cade Cunningham as a breakout guy next year. Also only played 33.5 minutes per game, which for the star on your team, they'll usually play more minutes than that. So I think even his minutes per game could be bumped up, especially in the East that's so weak. I do think that the Detroit Pistons can actually compete for one of the play-in spots this year, and he's going to be playing bigger minutes. All right, the next guy here is Benedict Mathurin. Last year, he only averaged 14.5 points per game, and he is kind of a forgotten player on the Pacers because he was out
I think the entire playoffs. As a rookie, people forget he averaged almost 17 points per game in 28 minutes. Last year only played 26 minutes per game, a better percentage from three, over 37%. I think we're going to see his minutes go up. He may start the season off the bench though, but hopefully begin starting him instead of Nembhard. I think Nembhard would be better as a six-man, play every single minute that Tyrese Halliburton is off the court, and then also play backup shooting guard. I hope they go with that and start Mathurin, but I could see him coming off the bench again. Hopefully at some point they make the switch to him starting, and I think he could easily average over 20 points per game next year is my prediction for him. He's a 20 point per game player on a per 36 minute average, even higher as a rookie at 21.1. I think he could be in for a breakout season. Pacers play extremely fast. He's going to get a ton of looks. Just hope he can stay healthy, and hopefully he can start. I think he could be in for a massive season. People forget about him and are really high on Nembhard right now. Kind of going the other way. I think Mathurin's going to come in and have a big breakout season here. All right, then we got Jonathan Kuminga. Somewhat of a breakout season last year, averaged over 16 points per game, but I think he could easily average over 20 next year. I'm going to say 21 per game for Kuminga. Honestly, just depends on if the Warriors are going to play him consistent minutes or not. Finally, even at the end of the season, I guess the Warriors were competing for whatever reason, thought that it was best to not play him that much. In April, he averaged 26 minutes, but he had some really good months when he was playing consistent minutes. Like in January, he averaged over 30 minutes. He averaged almost 21 points per game. Hopefully, they'll give him 32, 33 minutes per game next season with no Klay Thompson. And even then, he wasn't seeing that consistent of minutes. Like in this month, he still played 19 minutes in this game, 24, 28, 25. I think if given 32 minutes, he can easily score 21 points per game. I'm really liking Kuminga here as a breakout. Per 36 minutes, he averaged 22 points per game last year. But are the Warriors finally going to give in and start rebuilding? Tanking? I guess it will depend on how they start the season, November and December. If they're really bad, maybe they'll lean into giving Kuminga a ton more minutes, resting Curry more. I'm kind of thinking that's finally going to happen here, but we will see with Kuminga. But honestly, I think he would help them win more games if he was playing bigger minutes and had a more consistent role on this team. Also, I didn't even mention, it seems like Andrew Wiggins will be gone before the season starts, which should open up even more minutes along with Klay Thompson being out or on Dallas. All right, Jalen Johnson, I really like his game. Finally, I think last year was his third year in the league, but he had a breakout year last year. You could see the averages 16, almost 9, and 3.5 assists. Without DeJounte Murray, he will get more opportunities to score the ball. I thought he would score more points per game. Watching some of his games and highlights, he's extremely athletic and can shoot the ball and create his own shot and has good size. So honestly, I thought he averaged more than 16 last year, but did have some dud games. He got 33.7 minutes. I think the points are going to be a big bump up for him from 16 with that many minutes. He could even see more minutes per game than he did last year. I have him in for like 19 points per game, around the same rebounds and assists, but could push towards 20, if the Hawks truly do lean into rebuilding without Trae Young. He could see a massive bump. Definitely liking Jalen Johnson here to have a big season. I mean, now really he's only competing with Trae Young for shots, not another guy in DeJounte Murray as well. So liking Jalen Johnson. Think he's going to be in for a big season. All right, the next guy here, Trey Murphy III. This is somewhat contingent on the Pelicans moving on from Brandon Ingram, which has been heavily rumored, but it seems like he may be a hard player to move. If they don't move him, he could see like almost identical stats to what we're seeing on the screen here, 14.8, 5 boards, but he does shoot at a good percentage from 3, 38, 40, and 38 his 3 years in the league, but played less than 30 minutes a game last year. Without Brandon Ingram, he should be in the starting lineup, averaging over 30 minutes per game. And I think we could see a big bump up points per game for him with DeJounte Murray and CJ McCollum, the guards who are really 2-point guards who do average a decent amount of assists. I think he would see a ton of good looks next year. He shot almost 8 threes per game this past season. I think it could be up to 10. And then we did see him develop a little bit of a shot creation game as well. Averaged less than 11 field goal attempts per game last year. This could bump up to like 14, 15 per game. And he could be close to a 20-point per game scorer on a really good team. So I think he is a great candidate to be a breakout player, especially if Ingram is moved. He's going to get a ton of looks, so definitely liking Trey Murphy. All right, next up, a player that not many people are talking about, Josh Giddey. Last year, he averaged over 12 points, almost 5 assists per game. Not the greatest numbers, but we could see the season before that, people quick to forget, he averaged almost 17 points per game, over 6 assists, and 8 boards. Those are some really good numbers in just 31.1 minutes. The Bulls already moved on from Caruso. Looks like they are moving on from Lonzo Ball, and it's not even clear when he'll come back. But I think Josh Giddey will be the starting point guard, playing more minutes than he has ever in his career. So I think like 33, 34 minutes per game. Could average close to a triple-double, honestly, in this offense. We've already seen that in his first 2 years in the league. Basically 8 and 6.5 on the rebounds and assists. And if we look at Giddey's per 36-minute average, he averaged 9 boards, 7.3 assists, and 14 points. Those are some insane numbers. I think the scoring is going to be around 15, 16 per game. The assists are going to be over 7. Rebounds going to be around 8. Could be a really nice season for Josh Giddey here with the Chicago Bulls, especially if they do start him and play him all those minutes. They do have some good scorers on the team. Levine, Vucevic, Kobe White are all still there who can make some shots for him, and he's just going to be out there creating shots for those guys. And they did go out and just trade Caruso straight up for him. Didn't even ask for a pick for Caruso, so I think they're really high on Giddey. I think they intend to start him, play him a ton of minutes, see if he can be a triple-double kind of player, and just needs to evolve that three-point shot into a better percentage, and then he could be an extremely dangerous player out there. He has great height for a point guard. He's 6'8", listed at 6'8". I didn't know he was that tall, so could be extremely dangerous if he develops some kind of three-point shot. It was actually better last year, almost 34%. If he can keep up 34%, I think he should be very solid this upcoming year. All right, then lastly, we have a rookie, so can't be most improved player, but I think Zach Edey went to the perfect situation for him as far as going to step right in and playing big minutes. Memphis desperately needed a center. I can't really think of any other team in the league that may play him more minutes than the Grizzlies are going to play him. I think he's going to play at least 25 minutes per game. We saw what he did in college. Obviously, playing as college players is much different. He averaged 25 points, 12 boards, 2.2 blocks. Honestly, I think he's going to average more blocks in the NBA. And I could see his rookie season being something like 14 points, 10 boards, 3 blocks per game for Memphis as their starting center. Really, it's between him and Brandon Clark for center minutes right now on the roster, unless you put Jaren Jackson there, which I think they like him more at power forward. So I think he's going to play 25 minutes per game. He's going to get a ton of looks inside with Ja Morant driving and dishing to him. And then you have to worry about Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson. He's going to be the forgotten guy down there for Memphis. He definitely reminds me of Steven Adams with a better offensive game, better touch inside. We already saw it in his first summer league game. He had some touch on that hook shot. Was just massive like Steven Adams is, but he's way taller than Steven Adams at 7'4". I mean, Adams with Memphis averaged like 9 points, 11.5 rebounds in 27 minutes, but he was taking like 5-6 shots per game. I think Eddie's going to get 11, 12 shots per game and play around the same 26, 27 minutes. So definitely liking Zach Edey. Next season, I think he's in the perfect spot. So if you guys enjoyed this one, subscribe to the channel. Check out the newsletter. I give crazy opinions on the NBA in the newsletter. Subscribe to the channel and check out another video that we put out, and I'll see you in another one.